In this video, we're talking about boners and why they are actually quite important for health. Morning wood is an interesting phenomenon. Now, no one really knows exactly why men get raging hard-ons when they wake up, which can actually be quite annoying if you're a belly sleeper. The fact is that no one really knows exactly why they happen. And it has been studied before. Now, there are some theories that many do agree upon to be the cause, but the reasons are multifactorial. Okay, there's a lot of different things at play, and I'll go into those things later. But there is some solid evidence and reasoning that they are a good thing and a sign of good overall health. It can be good signs of and a sign of good overall health, and I'll explain that in this video. There's also some evidence that suggests that having a constant lack of morning wood in men, both young and old, could be an indicator of either physiological or psychological issues going on that may need to be addressed and that could develop into something bigger. Things like low testosterone, blood flow issues, high blood pressure, stress, and even erectile dysfunction. So as I mentioned, there's no clear-cut understanding in terms of why we actually get boners when we sleep and when we wake up, but there are some key factors at play. Like I said, it's multifactorial. And so here are some of the things that I came across in my research. So the first is REM sleep, rapid eye movement sleep. This is a very important phase and stage and cycle in our sleep cycle. When we get a full night's rest, there's deep sleep, light sleep, and REM sleep. So this is interesting, and I wasn't expecting to find this in my boner research. Typically, men get plenty of boners while we sleep, up to 5 of them during an 8-hour sleep cycle. So that's about 1 stiffy every 90 minutes. And if you think about another sleep cycle that we have, REM sleep, which happens about every 90 minutes or so, that's a really interesting correlation there. So they do seem to be linked, but we don't know why. Now, scientists do have a fancy name for this. It's called nocturnal penile tumescence. I'll just stick with morning boner. So although this REM sleep boner correlation is interesting, it still doesn't tell us why they happen. And so that could play into why we wake up with morning boners, seeming that we get boners every time we go through a REM sleep cycle. Most of us do awake and come out of sleep out of a REM cycle. I don't know if obviously you've probably had a dream before, and usually we are dreaming right before we wake up. We wake up and then the first 30 seconds we remember everything. A minute goes by and we're like, wait, what the fuck did I just dream about? That's us coming out of sleep from a REM cycle. So that would make sense, right? Another theory is that while we're sleeping, our body produces lower amounts of cortisol and norepinephrine, right? We're in this parasympathetic state when we're getting really good quality sleep. We're recovering, we are fighting infections, we are recovering our muscles, we are consolidating memories. If we're getting really good sleep, we are extremely relaxed. This is our recover state, right? So it makes sense that if we are extremely relaxed in a parasympathetic state while we're sleeping and testosterone is cycling through our bodies, it makes sense that we get so relaxed that we just get hard, right? Speaking of testosterone, though, the main sex male hormone, it is at its highest in the morning as well. It peaks shortly after waking up. So that's one reason why, in my opinion, morning sex is way better than late night sex. I think that's overrated. It's just my opinion. But this could be a reason why we get morning wood, right? We're coming out of this REM sleep cycle, which is correlated with boners. Testosterone is at its peak in the morning. It just kind of makes sense. We're relaxed, right? And so this could also tie into the reason why morning wood becomes less common as men age. As men age in the modern world, probably due to lifestyle factors, circulating levels of testosterone decreases, right? So if your testosterone gets lower, you have lower sex drive, and that would just result in fewer erections and less morning wood. That makes sense. Another factor that comes into play with morning boners is mental stimulation. You could simply be dreaming about having sex, or possibly it could just be physical stimulation. Maybe if you sleep with your wife or partner, you may come in contact in the middle of the night, your body still senses that, therefore you get a boner. But it could also just be from your sheets, your blanket, your pillows, just any pressure could get you going, and next thing you know, you're pitching a tent in the middle of the night and waking up with a boner. So it does seem to be hormonal. It does seem to be related to REM sleep cycles, although we don't really know why. Could be mental stimulation, could be physical stimulation. But what I think is probably the reason, in my opinion, is due to the REM sleep and the hormones more so than the mental and physical stimulation. So now let's get into the bread and butter of this conversation. What good or bad things can morning wood or lack of morning wood be an indicator of? Let's start with the good things. And as always, I got some notes here to keep me on track that I type out for myself. So let's start with the good. Morning wood is a good indicator of both erection and overall health. So just simply meaning that you can get a boner is a good thing, right? If you usually wake up with a boner, it's a sign that your body is physiologically capable of doing so. That means that all your junk and your men parts are in good working order, and it's also a sign that you likely don't have erectile dysfunction. So why is that important? Why have I mentioned erectile dysfunction before? Well, turns out, and I was super surprised to find this in my research, is that not being able to get your swimmer in his suit and being diagnosed with erectile dysfunction could be a sign of an underlying bigger issue. There's published research on erectile dysfunction that I came across, and they have found that men with erectile dysfunction are more likely to develop a cardiac condition than those without erectile dysfunction. The results of one specific long-term study concluded that our data suggests that the older men in this group have about a twofold greater risk of cardiovascular disease than men without erectile dysfunction. And then they went on to say that this analysis suggests that the initial presentation of a man with erectile dysfunction should prompt the evaluating physician to screen for standard cardiovascular risk factors. So some would say that erectile dysfunction and lack of boners could be viewed as a check engine light for your body. Another study done in 2016 emphasizes this very clearly simply by the title. And the title of this study is Erectile Dysfunction in Young Patients is a Proxy of Overall Men's Health Status. So getting morning boners is a sign that your parts are in working order, therefore you probably don't have ED, therefore you are probably in good health. For the most part, right? There could be other things, obviously, that contribute to our health, but for the most part, you're probably in good shape. So in addition to morning wood being a good sign that your manhood is up to par, it's also a good sign that there are no blood flow issues, that your hormones are probably in check, including your testosterone production, and that your vascular and your nervous systems are functioning properly. Now, occasionally waking up without a boner is normal. It happens from time to time. You probably still got boners throughout your sleeping cycles, right, in the middle of the night. And if you don't wake up with one, it just probably means you woke up at a different part of your sleep cycle, right, than you usually do. However, if this happens often, and this is what I found in my research, is that if it's a persistent thing and you constantly don't have morning wood, you don't remember the last time you woke up with a boner, it could be a sign of an underlying physiological or psychological issue, something bigger at play here. Now, the most common causes of infrequent or no morning wood that I came across are usually hormonal issues, such as something as low testosterone, as well as conditions like obesity, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, and even mental obstacles that you could be dealing with, such as stress, anxiety, depression. Those all could be potential reasons why you're not getting morning boners. It doesn't automatically mean you have erectile dysfunction and that you're going to die of a heart attack, but some studies do suggest that that could be an early sign, okay? Now, one more thing to note about erectile dysfunction is if you are taking any medications that can interfere with your boner production as well, and other things like that. There are some non-physical causes of ED as well, like I mentioned, stress, anxiety, depression, things like that. So I want to make that clear. So if you are someone who frequently does not get morning wood, what should you do? You should go see your fucking doctor, because I'm not your doctor. I ain't certified for shit. You should not be taking medical advice from YouTube videos. You need to go see a professional. And so this is just my personal experience here, but something that I notice when summertime comes around is that my morning wood is significantly harder. It's to the point where it's a nuisance in the morning. Like if I wake up and I got a boner, my morning wood, like I just can't go back to bed. I have to wake up at that point because it's just in the way, especially when I sleep on my stomach. But the reason I mention that is that every time summer comes around, there's a tie here. I love it because the sun is usually out from sunrise to sunset, and I can get my sun exposure dialed into the T. I wake up with the sunrise and I watch the sunrise. A few hours later, I'll go and I'll do some sunbathing. I do practice nude sunbathing as well. And studies have now shown that getting full spectrum sunlight on your skin, especially in places like your chest and on your balls, can significantly help with hormone production, including testosterone production. And I personally can attest to this. As I just said, when summertime comes around, my boners are harder, my workouts are better, my overall zest for life is just through the fucking roof when I'm constantly getting proper and safe sunlight exposure. It's pretty clear in the research, like I just said, with full spectrum sunlight on skin helping with testosterone production in males. I'll leave some links in the description, but I personally completely notice it. And of course, that's in combination with other healthy practices, right? I got a diet dialed in for me. I get good sleep, etc., etc. I got other things at play here. Based on what we know, morning wood is generally a good sign that your man parts are working and that things are in order overall. Is it bad if you don't get morning wood? Not if it's every once in a while, that's completely normal like I mentioned. But if it's constantly an infrequent thing, and like I said, you don't remember the last time you pitched a tent in the middle of the night, then you may want to look into that. It's not always a sign of some big bad problem like a cardiovascular risk or something, but it could be. At least that's what the research tells us. And as always, I'm not a doctor. Like I said, I ain't certified for shit. Use your best judgment. Consult with a licensed physician before you do anything, honestly, medical-wise, and don't take medical advice from the internet. So like the title says, morning boners, why we want them. That's why we want them. I don't know about you, but based off the research that we have, I would rather have them frequently and often versus not having them based off of what we know on morning boners, erectile dysfunction, linking to poor health or good overall health. So morning boners, good thing. And ladies, I think you want your men to have morning boners as well. That means their testosterone is in check. That means they can get boners. That means they're gonna get boners longer so you guys can have sex longer if you're into that kind of thing. And it's just overall a good sign that your partner is in good healthy condition. So with that being said, I hope I brought you value with this video. It was a pleasure doing a bunch of boner research. I was at a co-working space doing my research for this video, and a lady walked up to me and she said, "Hey, what are you working on?" Just to come and say hi. And I was like, doing research on boners. And I just found a lot of really interesting things that surprised me, such as the REM sleep and boner correlation. We get boners all throughout the night. I didn't really know that. I thought it was just in the morning. The link between erectile dysfunction and cardiovascular risk is pretty surprising as well. As always, I'll leave my references in the description below. I'm not an expert in this stuff. As I said, I am not a doctor, but I simply go through the data. I go through multiple research reviews, unbiased ones that I subscribe to, and I just do my research and based off the research that we have that I came across, I would rather have morning boners than not have them. And so I'm just sharing my findings here with you on YouTube. And if you found any value, please give me a thumbs up on this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys in next week's video. Thank you so much. Have a good morning boner.